Hello, welcome. This is One India News and I am Akash. As much it is hard to win a test match, whether at home or away, it is even harder to remain unbeaten for any amount of time. In over a century of test cricket, only 16 times has a team managed to remain unbeaten in 15 or more consecutive tests. India's win in one-off test against Bangladesh was not only Virat Kohli's sixth series since being appointed full-time or India's 19th consecutive test match without defeat, but also elevated them into the elite list that comprises some of the best sides that have ever played in the game. Before we go into the list, please don't forget to subscribe to One India News YouTube channel for such more fun videos. Now let's take you through the top 5 teams who have the longest unbeaten run in test history. Number 5, India with 19 tests. Courtesy of their win over Bangladesh in the one-off test, India entered into this list and overtook England and Australia into the 5th place. Virat Kohli's reign as full-time captain has so far resulted in 6 successive series wins and an unbeaten run of 19 tests that is still unbroken, with 4 tests against Australia to come up. After losing the first test against Sri Lanka in 2015, nobody could have foreseen what was going to happen thereafter. Not only did they win the remaining 2 tests, but also their first test series in Sri Lanka since 1993. Soon after, they beat South Africa 3-0 at home, who at that time hadn't lost away a test series in a decade. While the amount of the turn in the pitches prepared for the series was questioned by some, they have since answered all the critics by winning 2-0 in West Indies and whitewashing New Zealand at home and beating England 4-0 and Bangladesh 1-0 on pitches that have largely been good for batting. Number 4, Australia with 22 tests. The first of the 2 Australian sides to make to this list is the one captained by Ricky Ponting, who went on a 22-game unbeaten run which was spread across 2.5 years and began right at the end of the most famous Ashes series in 2005. After drawing the final Ashes test at the Oval, they would go on to dominate the test arena unlike any other team before them in the history of the format. Of the 22 tests, they drew just 2 and won 20 and went on a world record 16-game winning run in the test that hasn't come close to be unbroken since then. Number 3, Australia with 25 tests. Australia are the only team that have gone more than 20 consecutive games unbeaten twice. And it came as no surprise that with a 25-game unbeaten run that spread nearly over 5 years, it is Don Bradman's invincible team that takes the 3rd spot. Even before Australia became the first test side to play an entire tour of England without losing a match and earn the moniker of the Invincible and went down as one of the greatest sides to play the game, they had already been unbeaten in 11 consecutive tests against New Zealand, England and India. Then came the 1948 tour of England, where they played 31 first-class matches, winning 23 and drawing 8 of them, including the test series against England 4-0. They went on to beat South Africa away from home and won 4 consecutive matches against England and the series before losing the final match at Melbourne, which ended their 25-game unbeaten streak that comprised of 29 wins and 9 of them which were away from home and 6 consecutive test series wins and a streak of 5 consecutive test wins on 2 different occasions. Number 2, England with 26 tests. Despite being the pioneer of the game, England haven't always been given their due when it comes to cricket. Perhaps they have never quite caught the eye, and that is a surprise, especially considering the fact that they are only one of the 2 teams who have more than 25 consecutive test wins without defeat. With an unbeaten run that stretched for 26 tests from June 1968 to August 1971. Perhaps the reason why they don't hold high regards as compared to the legendary West Indies or Australian team has to do with the approach of the game, as evident in this unbeaten run. Although they were unbeaten in 26 tests, of those matches they won only 9 and just 3 of them came away from home. They won just 5 of the 8 series during this run, and although their wins were largely convincing, they never won more than 2 games in a row, whereas they drew 3 games in a row thrice during their 26-game unbeaten run. Still, being unbeaten for 3 years is an achievement that shouldn't be taken lightly, and their run came to an end at the hands of India, who beat them by 4 wickets at the Ovals and won the 3-test series 1-0. Number 1, West Indies with 27 tests. During the 1980s, the West Indies were a force to be reckoned with the likes of McClellan Marshall, Courtney Walsh, Michael Holding and Joel Garner in their ranks. And it should come as no surprise that the side captained by Clive Lloyd holds the record for the longest consecutive unbeaten run in Test history. West Indies were unbeaten in 27 tests across 3 years, during which they beat India 2-0 at home and 3-0 away from home, beat Australia home and away, and whitewashed England 5-0 in England, which was a sign of their complete dominance irrespective of the conditions on offer. The streak came to an end in the final test of the 1984 Australian series in a spectacular fashion in Sydney. Although West Indies have already won the series 3-0, Australia grabbed the consolation win in the final test and ended the longest consecutive unbeaten streak in the Test history. Do you agree with our list? Or do you think that there are many other teams that hold better records than the one we mentioned? If you do mention them in the comment section below. Well, that's all for now, but for more news and updates, log on to oneindia.com and please don't forget to like and share this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe One India News YouTube channel.